welcome to Time to Thrive. I think it's episode 8, and it is the 14th of January 2021. And tonight we're going to be talking about road mapping your outcomes for 2021. Now, normally this is where people at this point start to kind of giggle and kind of like, oh, Jess, you naive optimist, to assume that you can control anything in 2021 is incredibly naive and very, very optimistic. However, I think one of the most important things that people need to know is around what creates positive and beneficial mental health. Now, one of those things is it is essential to have a compelling future. So one of the reasons why you need a compelling future, something to look forward to, is because it doesn't, obviously day to day, things happen and, things happen that we don't want. But having a compelling future, something to look forward to in the future, almost acts like a kind of anchor point to keep you fixed and stops you from kind of swaying around too much when things get out of control, when life kind of, presents lots of obstacles for you. So having a compelling future, I think, is really, really important. More important than that is having a compelling future that you feel like you have control over. And one of the things that gets people down and makes them feel hopeless is when they don't feel like they have control over making anything change. Okay, so if you are not experiencing what you want to experience, feeling like you have some control to change it is massively important. And then deciding what you want to have instead is equally as important as that. So what I'm seeing at the moment, and what I'm hearing from people, is that they've stopped making plans because what's the point? Who knows what's going to be happening? Who knows what's going to, what's the, 2021 is going to bring? And actually, it's more important than ever to create some compelling futures. Now, the dates might have to change. We might have to be flexible on a few areas, but there is so much that you can actually control that at least if you start by planning and deciding what you want, then if it is at all possible, you'll have it. And it might just be that the time, the time that you achieve it shifts, but you will get there. So I am still very much encouraging people to plan 2021 outcomes the same way as you plan any other year. The other thing to remember as well is that 2020 was not the worst year that I've had. And I don't mean that 2020 wasn't bad. God, it was a dog of it. I mean, it was absolute pig of it. But the point is that there were so many things that happened to me in previous years that were worse, that were awful, that I would never have asked for in a million years, that I didn't enjoy, I didn't like. And yet I would never have started off those years thinking, oh, well, something bad's bound to happen. So what's the point in making any plans? Right? I would never have thought, oh, well, I won't be able to control what's happening to me, so I won't bother to set any outcomes. In fact, every year I set my outcomes for the year, and every year I achieve them in possibly sometimes a different way to the way that I expect to. But I always do end up where I want to end up. And I think the reason why I do that is because of what I'm going to show you tonight. So is this technique that I do every year, and it works with the subconscious mind. It works when, you have a lot of uncertainty, because everybody underestimates how utterly incredible their subconscious mind is to cope with uncertainty and find a way to help you end up exactly where you want to end up. So that's what we're going to do tonight, is we're going to do this road mapping technique. And obviously I'm recording the session so you can listen back and do the technique as many times as you want to. So don't feel the pressure that you've got to figure out everything, that you want tonight. This is just showing you the process, and then you can make it your own and do it as many times as you feel like you want to. You may just set one outcome. You may set, multiple. But I will take you through it. What is it? Like, what am I talking about? Okay. It is just a technique. So it is just a technique developed from NLP. So it's one that I have kind of taken from NLP, developed into kind of the way that I set my outcomes, and now I'm just sharing it with you guys. So ultimately, it's a technique for programming all of your outcomes into your subconscious mind. And some people would call it storyboarding. So if you were a movie maker and you wanted to make a movie of 2021, you would storyboard it. It's literally scene by scene what's going to happen. So it's not all the individual detail. It's not a script. It's just, let's map this out so we know what the major kind of scenes look like. So at a glance, we can kind of work out what the story looks like as we go through. So I call it road mapping just because of the way that I draw essentially a road to represent 2021, and then I put kind of destinations along the way, mostly because our subconscious mind acts like GPS or sat nav, so it kind of works with the same metaphor. So you call it whatever you want, but basically it's a way of ensuring that you achieve all of your outcomes regardless of the variables that come up for you. So regardless of kind of the obstacles. I did it last year, had no idea how I was going to achieve all my outcomes once the first lockdown hit. And yet my subconscious mind just kind of almost like kind of, reprogramming destination. And the destination was the same, but the route changed. That was all. And I ended up achieving everything that I wanted in almost like a better way, in a way that I couldn't have even planned for. So that's the power of the subconscious mind, is that often you end up in a better place, or getting there a better way than you could have possibly have actually predicted. So we're going to use the subconscious mind. Okay, so the reason why that we need to roadmap, again, as I mentioned, remember in the past where, did anybody remember, I had this really massive A to Z, and I remember trying to get across London with this blooming A to Z, and I had to keep, because I kept taking a wrong turn, and I had to keep stopping and trying to work, program the route almost. Does everyone remember A to Zs, like actual maps?
Yeah, I still got one.
Is it like an antique now? I would imagine, like, that's how we used to have to get around, Holly. That was the last, I think it took me kind of 4 hours to get across London using a map. And in the end, that was the last day before I got a GPS, and it changed my life. And at that point, it was like, oh my God, this is a miracle. This is incredible. I just say, I would like to, computer, I would like to go here. Please take me. And it goes, cool, okay. And it just takes you, and it maybe gives you the option of like shortest route, fastest route. Do you want to avoid motorways? Oh, lovely. It's beautiful and works because it understands all the possible routes to get you where you want to go. And therefore, if one of them is blocked off at any point, or you do, a wrong turn, which we often do, it goes, no worries, I'll just reprogram how to get there from here. Now, that does sound precisely what we need as we make our way through life. If we know where we want to end up, and suddenly life, throws up a diversion and says, no, sorry, we can't go there. This, get to that destination this way, or the motorway's shut, or whatever. Our subconscious mind has the power to be able to say, cool, all right, we'll figure out another way to get there, and access all the variables open to you. And I give people the example that, like, imagine that your one of your outcomes is to, I don't know, have an advance in your business in some way. And you think, right, the way that I'm going to do it is, is this way, and this is what I'm going to do. And then suddenly that route is closed to you for whatever reason. The difference is your subconscious mind, when it knows what your outcome is, basically, and I think this is a good picture that helps you to understand it, your subconscious mind is looking at all the variables, and it will be like, let's say you're scrolling down your LinkedIn feed or something like that. Your subconscious mind will be suddenly drawn to something, and you'll find yourself compelled to, I don't know, connect with someone or respond or watch some, some video someone's posted. And all of a sudden, this new route starts to take form. And most of the time, if we think back to how did you get the job that you have, or how did you meet your partner, or how did you end up in the house that you've ended up in, most people cannot tell me that they kind of planned it in advance. They met someone, or someone contacted them, or they were at a networking event, or it's usually there's going to be chance along the way, what seems like chance anyway. So I am forever grateful that I didn't get into vet school, for example. So that was one of the kind of life's, in the snakes and ladders of life, that was an option that was kind of blocked to me. So my brain kind of recomputed, ended up, doing, IT eventually. And I'm really glad that I had back pain, because it meant that I struck up a particular conversation with someone next to me on an IT training, who then said, oh, you want to see this person who works with, hypnosis for pain. And then from going to see that person, I got into the whole personal development idea, who then I kind of found someone else who then put me in touch with someone else, who then blah, 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 ended up here where I'm very happy. I could not have planned that at age 17, when someone says, right, well, your careers advisor, what do you want to do? I didn't even know being a coach existed. So quite often those roadblocks in life, those things that don't work out, are what send us in the direction we actually want to be in. So the point is that our subconscious mind basically acts like GPS, like sat nav, and all we need to do is program the destination and trust that our subconscious mind will figure out how to get us where we want to get to, even if those roadblocks come up, even if things happen that we couldn't have planned, that we might see as bad things initially, because, oh, that's not what I want. But actually, sometimes those are the very things that kind of transport us to where we want to get to. So in a game of snakes and ladders, that, for example, is a bit like, you're doing really, really well, you're throwing the dice and you're going up a few ladders. It's really, really good. And then suddenly, no, I've gone down a really big snake and I've gone all the way back to the beginning. Then you roll the dice and you roll a 4, and suddenly you go up a massive ladder right to the top. And you couldn't have got there as quickly had you just kept plodding along, square by square. So if we trust that that's how our subconscious mind works, that's how our outcomes work, all our job is to decide where we end up. What outcome do we want to experience? The only other thing that you have to do is, if you have any, like if you were going to plan your route somewhere, like on an actual physical map, the sat nav will say to you, where do you want to go? But if it's like, well, okay, I want to go to Manchester, but I definitely want to stop off in Birmingham to see my auntie, then you put that as a waypoint. Yeah. So if there are particular choices that you have about, points along the way, then you can also put, program those in. So when you're looking at a whole year of essentially a whole year of outcomes, what I tend to think of is, what's your ultimate destination this time next year? What's your outcome going to be? What's your destination? And then what are some of the major waypoints that you want to experience along the way? Because some of those things will matter to you. So you will want to experience certain things along the way. You don't have to plan every single day. You don't have to plan to the letter how you get everything. You just have to tell your subconscious mind what it is that you want to experience. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And then we're going to program it into your subconscious mind. So you'll get to plan it, and then you'll get to program it in. We're not going to necessarily have time to do all your outcomes, but you can listen to this as many times as you need to. Okay, so essentially, don't sweat the journey. You'll end up where you end up, even if you have to go past a few diversions to get there. That basically looks like 2020 to me, that picture. Okay, but the point is you're going to trust your unconscious mind. All right, so how do we do it? Okay, so this is the process. I'll then break it down for you and we'll do it. So start thinking as I'm talking, start thinking about like a brain dump of all the outcomes that you want. If you've got a pen and paper, start writing as I'm talking, just what is it you want to achieve this year? One of the things that's really helpful is to choose a theme for your year. And it might be kind of like, this is the year of health and abundance of wealth, or this is my year of, pleasing myself, whatever it is you choose, it's up to you. This is the year of vitality. This is the year of self-employment. This is the year of autonomy. This is the year, whatever, doesn't matter, as long as, or this is the year of joy. This is the year of infinite wealth, or I don't care, just whatever you want it to be. No one gets to judge. It's your phrase, but it's basically what's the overarching theme of this year that's the most important change or aspect that you want to kind of create for yourself. It helps to start at the end and work back. Okay, so if you want to go to the end of the year, and quite often I'll think, right, this New Year's Eve, next New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve, if that's when you tend to take stock, what will I be doing? What will be different? What will I have in my life? What will I feel? What will I do have? What will next New Year's Eve look like in my movie scene? And if you were going to write a film, probably some people would think, right, what's an end scene that would blow people's minds? What's an end scene that would just bring people to tears, or that would be so incredible? And then you could create a film around that. So starting at the end is perfectly legitimate if you want to do it that way. So by the end of the year, where are you? What are you doing? What's different? What has changed? What does it feel like to be you at the end of the year? Try really hard to ignore any of those kind of doubting voices in your head, any of those limiting beliefs that crop up to say, oh, well, it'd take me more than a year to do that, so I probably wouldn't be there by then. And, oh, well, I don't tend to get what I want, so I probably won't be there. And ignore that, fantasize. Where do you want to be at the end of the year? People often say to me, but I shouldn't fantasize because that's not realistic. And it's like, well, yeah. Your subconscious mind, the way that it's programmed, is designed to maintain your current reality. That's what it's designed to do. And your current reality means that whatever your beliefs are currently will form your experiences over the coming year. The whole point of deciding what you want to have is about changing your reality. It's about saying, actually, I'd quite like to not be unhealthy for another year, which is what my subconscious mind might be currently programmed to do. I'd quite like to connect with friends more than is in my current reality. So, or I'd like to earn more than is in my current reality. So in order to do that, you're going to have to imagine a reality that is fantasy right now. It's not your current reality. That's the point, right? Otherwise you wouldn't have to do this process. So fantasizing and thinking about what you actually want, really, really want, that's the point. Okay, so yes, it is fantasy for now. And then by doing this process, you can make it your reality. Okay. So after you've considered where you're going to be, then just kind of brain dump everything you want to achieve by the end of the year. Now, at the beginning, don't edit yourself and don't try and put it into kind of a positive, like a good format. Just literally get a piece of paper and just start writing everything that you want. Okay, so the difference between a goal and an outcome is a goal, for example, would be, okay, there's a Tough Mudder in April. I want to do the Tough Mudder and I want to get this time on it, right? An outcome would be, I want to be fit enough to get this time on a Tough Mudder. And I want to feel great about the way that I train in order to get that fit and stay that fit. So it's rather than a moment in time, a snapshot of that day I achieved X, it's this is what I am doing in my life at that time. So I'm training in a way that makes me feel amazing, makes me fit enough to do the Tough Mudder if I want to. It's I know that I'm fast enough that I could, get this time if I wanted, and I'm loving it and it feels incredibly empowering. And I'm finding the time for it. It's more how it fits into that movie scene.
Sorry, Jess, is that the outcome then, is what you're saying there?
Yeah, so the outcome is the kind of so what? It's the what does that look like in your life after, the goal is kind of like a minute in time. It's either hit or it's missed. You either get that time on the Tough Mudder or you don't. So it's kind of very short-lived, whereas the outcome is kind of like the movie scene of your life. The montage that we, the Rocky montage that we would see, with you doing all the lovely training, and whether or not you get that time is probably less important to you than feeling the way that you feel and experiencing the benefits of doing all of that. So yes, question, Hannah.
Oh yeah, thank you. Can you give 2 more examples of outcomes?
Yes, I can. Okay, so one of the things, so for example, one of my okay, so you could say it's one of my outcomes this year is I want another baby. If I was to set a goal, it would be, right, I want to be pregnant by April. Yeah. So that for me is like, well, is that actually what I want longer term? No, it's a baby, isn't it? Do you see what I mean? So it's the goal is, right, I want to be pregnant by April. I want to have a baby by then. If the outcome is that I just want another child, then it probably makes sense to see the outcome as me with another child and see Rocky there and them getting on with each other and me feeling healthy and sleep filled, whatever the word is, and really happy and, Nick ecstatic, and see it the way I would want to end up, the outcome, the end result. Yeah. Does that make sense, that one? Another outcome might be, because my first pregnancy, I had pregnancy nausea all the way through. Didn't set that outcome. This time around, I might set another outcome of being pregnant and feeling amazing. Yep. So might be, as I'm pregnant, I'm feeling amazing. I'm doing the yoga. I'm just, feeling great. And that might be something that I kind of think of, yes, I'd like to have another baby. And yes, I'd like it to feel a bit better than the first one, please. Another outcome versus a goal. Okay. Yeah. Another one. So moving house. So, Nick and I were talking about, right, we want to move house. And I was sort of playing with this idea of, right, I want to have the house on the market by May. And then I started thinking about, that puts a lot of pressure on us. It's not an enjoyable amount of pressure to have to get everything finished in the house before May. Okay. So what's my ultimate outcome? Does it matter if I have the house on the market by May, if actually what I want is to be living in a new location in a beautiful house. That is what I need to focus on. And then how I get there, I can leave up to any number of routes. So, for example, I could spend a lot of energy and time and focus trying to achieve the goal of getting the house on the market. It still doesn't sell till December. And then I've, busted, myself trying to get it on the market to achieve that goal, when actually it wasn't right. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't probably good to fit that in with everything else. The outcome maybe was right to actually be in a new place another time.
Jess, I was just going to ask you something actually about what you said about your pregnancy, saying that you want to feel better and not feel so nauseous the second time round. Now, the reason why I say this was when I had the back injury, you taught me about the tap-in,
yes,
pinched nerve. So would that be, again, for your outcome, for you not to feel so sick, is that possible to do through something like that, tap-in, and that would be your outcome? Or am I kind of misleading it a little bit here?
So that would be, if it did happen, obviously I've got lots of things I could do to solve it this time around. But it's more about the outcome just needs to be the way I want it. So I wouldn't even think about, the only reason to set the outcome is because I had the nausea in the first one.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. Did you actually change?
Yes.
You physically feel?
Oh, definitely. And this is the thing. Once you've set the outcomes in your subconscious mind, then should anything come up as a roadblock that upsets you, that change, that gets in the way, that's a limiting belief, then yes, then we've got lots of options for how to make, how to kind of remove those obstacles and make things easier. But what I would say, Lisa, as well, is that the original outcome that I set, interestingly enough, when I think back to it, and this is what makes me giggle, because the original outcome that I set for myself was to have, and this is, I'm sort of embarrassed almost to say, my original outcome was to not work when I was pregnant. Now, you know me.
That didn't happen.
There's no way that had I been feeling great, that I would have not worked. Because I just saw myself, I just thought, oh God, I just want to be pregnant. I just want to be pregnant for a whole year and just focus on yoga and just, building a human. That's all I want to do for the whole 9 months, whatever. But me, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just worked the whole time because that's what I do. So the fact that I had nausea so badly that I couldn't work meant that I did actually achieve my outcome.
Right. Okay. Oh, that makes sense.
I did get what I asked for from an outcome perspective. Now, this time around, I now know to not just set the outcome in this instant, but also see the waypoint on my GPS, that does matter to me. So this time around, I'm going to set a waypoint, which is I want to feel great the whole time. But this is what I'm saying is that, stuff does come up and sometimes it's in your highest good and it is giving you what you've asked for, but just in not the way that you would necessarily have expected or planned. So I just give you that as an example. Hannah, has that given you enough examples?
So first, I wrote down one. Could it be feeling warm, speaking with my mom?
Feeling warm, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, feeling the interaction and feeling the feelings of positivity, of warmth, of love, of easiness, however you want it. Just experience that in your mind as your outcome and just experience that, what it would be like to have that amazing relationship. And then how you get it, we'll leave that up to the subconscious. Whereas the goal would be, okay, I want my mum to say she's proud of me. And it's okay,
not gonna happen.
That's very specific. And actually, somebody may be very capable of actually being proud of you without being able to say it. So to force something to happen. Actually, do you need it to happen really, or is it more that you just want that feeling of knowing that, you know, you feel loved or whatever it is? So I think leaving as many variables open is better than deciding all the variables and trying to control every aspect of it. So like I said, you know, try to control the aspects that matter, and then leave everything else up to your kind of mental sat nav to deal with. And it means that you're more likely to get it, because if there's a roadblock, your brain will find a way around it. Okay, so brain dump your major outcomes for the year. That might mean that you've got pages and pages and pages of you know, outcomes for the year. And I'll show you a diagram in a minute, but it gives you all the kind of themes to think about, you know, like career and relationships and health, and where do you want to be in all of those areas. And it's okay to put some areas down in there, to put some outcomes for things you already have but want to keep. So if you already have a great relationship with your partner, it is okay to set another outcome to see yourself still with that great relationship and maintaining it. The next thing you've done, once you've kind of gone, right, blah, that's what everything I want to achieve for the next 12 months, then you're going to draw this roadmap. So it's going to be a picture, you know, an artistic exercise. You're just going to draw like a road representing the next 12 plus months. I've done one that was like 3 years before. I needed a big piece of paper for that one, but 12 months is perfectly reasonable. The next thing you're going to do once you've drawn your roadmap is you're going to mark any existing plans on the map. So I always put my birthday. I don't know why. I always just think, okay, that's an immovable point. That's my birthday. And then the courses that we've planned, you know, or so I kind of have a sense of what each month should look like from a kind of, that's okay, those are things are happening then. If you have any kind of holiday plans, as we do, we have some, you know, ideal plans that we've made.
Do you do month by month, Jess? Is that the way? Is it an easier way to do it?
Yeah, so you just mark out. I'll show you the picture. I'll just get through this and I'll show you the pictures. Yeah, because it's really up to you, and I wouldn't necessarily say I'm particularly creative. You know, I would love to spend all day drawing pictures that represent my outcomes, and I have done a bit of it in the past. It's okay to just write little notes or draw little circles that represent things. But yeah, so I would put, right, okay, what's January look like on the calendar so far? Let's put some of that. Okay, so I've got a course there, I've got a course there. Okay, Zoom meeting that's important there. February, okay, we've got another course there, another course there. Those are definite things that are happening. And then I'll put in, okay, March, supposed to be having a holiday. Let's put that in a dotted potential cancellation there. But, you know, that's when I've planned it. So work through each month. As much as I know what my intentional plans are, put them on. The next thing you'll do is you'll go through your brain dump, pick out each thing and place it on the roadmap where you would like it to happen, where it kind of would feel comfortable for it to happen. So right now I am looking for a marketing coordinator. So I'm thinking to myself, right, when would that person be great to show up? Now. So kind of by the end of January, you know, I've got this this picture of a person with a halo of this kind of like miracle worker, this amazing human being that comes into our lives with a wand, and you know, just this lovely person that's by the end of the month would be amazing. So I'm going to put that there on my roadmap. And you just keep going all the way through, popping things onto the map wherever that you want them. Now, once you've done that, those are all your separate outcomes. But obviously, when you actually experience your year, you're going to experience your year as a movie. You're not going to experience it as isolated events. So, for example, the day that this marketing coordinator shows up in my life will be at a point where whatever my outcomes about vitality are, and family time, and whatever my finances, relationships, and everything else have been planned, that will all be in one experience. Does that make sense? It might not be the focal point of the experience, but that will be the movie scene, in the same way as if you were watching a character in a movie and they were, you know, like getting fit, for example, or you would, even though they're going to the grocery store in one of the scenes and doing something in a grocery store, you would be able to tell by looking at them where they are on their journey, for example. So everything else that they're dealing with is included in that same outcome. So once you've written all the kind of the separate outcomes on, you're going to walk through your roadmap, your year, and experience all of those outcomes as they occur. So it might be that you're going through January and you kind of go, oh, cool. So yeah, so this is, by that time I'm experiencing this, and okay, another few days forwards, and then, oh, this person shows up, it's amazing. No, walk forwards another bit, like, oh, cool. And then I'm really feeling sociable now, and walk it through all the way to the end of the year to make sure, yeah, this is the year I want to have. Yeah. So, you know, as if you had control over all of it, this is the year I would like to have. Make sure it's working and that you haven't missed out any obvious, you know, outcomes that you want. Okay. The next thing is, once you've kind of gone, yeah, those outcomes are the ones I want, that's going to be an amazing year. Love it, love it, love it. That's the ideal. Then you're going to program it into your subconscious mind. And the way that you do that could be by taking the movie scene one for per month. You might circle the ones that are really important and just do those. You could do one per quarter, or you could just do one major outcome and program it for the end of the year and leave everything else up to your subconscious mind to decide. You basically program the waypoints into your subconscious mind. So the bits that, you know, the destinations you would like to go through in order to get to your ultimate outcome. Okay, so that's the overview. So let's go through that in more detail. So your major outcomes, so the wheel of life, we call it. Now you could put anything you like on this wheel of life, but it's just to give you a sense of what categories of outcomes you might want to start thinking about. So your career, what's your daily lifestyle like, you know, in terms of, you know, what time are you getting up? What time are you going to bed? What's your day look like? What emotions are you experiencing? So definitely when I work with people, it's not just about what you're achieving, but how are you feeling? You know, how much joy do you experience per day? Do you laugh all day? And, you know, are you playful? What's the emotional theme of 2021? What are your finances like? Your health, vitality, fitness? For me, vitality is way more important necessarily than health, because for a lot of people, health is just not being ill. Whereas vitality is kind of the more experiential aspect of health. And fitness is another thing. How fit do you want to be? Your connections, your relationships, personal growth, your skills, your abilities, where do you want them to be? How much adventure do you want to be having? How much fun and excitement and so on? People tend to overestimate the amount of excitement they want. Trust me, most people have enough excitement in their life just by life bringing surprises up to them. You don't necessarily have to plan for more unless you really have a very dull life. And then the career aspect, what major things do you want to achieve in your career? And again, what's it like to live with these outcomes, not just the hit and miss? You know, I want a promotion, right? That's a hit or a miss outcome. What do you want to achieve by having a promotion? And what does it feel like when you're there? Because it might be that it's not a promotion. It might be that actually something else happens that gives you all of the things you actually want. So don't fixate on a promotion, because it might actually not need to happen. Okay. So that's just gives you some of the ideas of your brain dump of outcomes that hopefully you're sort of busy writing as we go through now. All right. So again, let's think now, what does your life look like this time, end of 2021, New Year's Eve? You're thinking back to like, oh yeah, I set some outcomes, didn't I, for the year? How am I doing? What does your New Year's look like? Where are you? So for me, I might kind of think, okay, am I in a new home or not? Doesn't really matter, to be honest, as long as I'm comfortable wherever I am. Heavily pregnant, Rocky's being hilarious. Maybe I'm doing some yoga while Nick's cooking some dinner. Sounds idyllic. Perhaps we've just been for a lovely walk in the woods. We're thinking about, or we're having a chat about where we're going to live, because maybe we've seen, we now have a really good, strong idea about where. Perhaps I just had a text from our marketing coordinator to say, oh, thanks for an amazing year. It's been amazing. Thanks for the card that you sent, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking ahead at, all the cool stuff that's happening in January. Yeah. So whatever you want to do in your outcome is up to you. It could be that you're at a party, you've got people that you care about around you, but what's the evidence that if I was watching your movie, I would know that, like, yeah, she's there, she's got it, she's living that life. Wow, that's so cool. That feel good point at the end of the movie that, has anyone ever seen the movie Working Girl? Working Girl? What's the name? Is it Melanie Griffith and what's his name? Indiana Jones guy. What's his name? It's such a great Harrison Ford. Thanks, Nancy. It's such a great movie, but essentially, like, you're with this person the whole way through, and what's beautiful is it's got, I think it's called Act 3. So you've got the end result where she succeeds, she overcomes all the obstacles. And then rather than just like, and then they lived happily ever after, there's this lovely scene of what her life looks like after she's done all of that. And for me, that's the difference between kind of goal and outcome. The mundaneness of her and Harrison, and Harrison Ford making breakfast together, and they're clearly living together, or at least, in that kind of a, staying over, or at least they're in a relationship. And then she's got this beautiful job, she's got this beautiful office, and you can kind of go, yes, that is her experience of the end result of all of this, and that's the outcome you might want to have, to think about, even the mundane. What's it like to be you at the end of the year? Okay. Once you've done that, you want to get into really creative mindset. So we're going to do a visualization in a minute where you're going to program some goals into your subconscious mind. But you can absolutely go back and do this aspect and then listen to the recording and do it again. So get creative. I get a flip chart and I draw my roadmap, and I get pens and I color in like all the major outcomes that I want, so that the year itself looks great. Now, one year, I think, again, I didn't know how I was going to achieve any of it. This was, this was years ago now. I literally segmented, and I'll show you. This is a really, really bad drawing, but it doesn't have to be amazing. It just has to be something that proves it. Anyway, I got a piece of paper and I drew it, blah, blah, blah. And I literally, I think probably I was earning a few £1,000s a month at the time, and as a coach, and I thought, right, I want to earn £50,000 a month. So I literally wrote 50,000. I think I worked up to it. I went like 20 for like a couple of months, then 30, then 40, then 50, 50, 50, 50, 50 for the whole rest of the year. And I knew as I was doing it, I was like, well, I have no idea where that's going to come from, but that's what I want. So I'm going to put it down there. And sure enough, I got a huge contract that came through, and I ended up earning precisely that amount of money per month. And it literally was one of those things. At the time, I had no idea how it was going to happen. I didn't fixate on how. And the opportunity came up, and suddenly there I go from earning a few £1,000s to 50 grand a month. And I look back on that very same drawing, and it's like, holy, oh my God, imagine that, that it just can be that simple as having the audacity to write it, having the audacity to think, why not? And for me, it was like, well, great, I'll never look back. This is the process I'm going to use from now on. So drawing your map, it can look any way you like. Segment out roughly 12 months. If you do more, you can do more segments. And then you could, for example, put little circles for fixed points that you already know you're going to do. So events that are coming up, courses you're doing, for example, that are fixed points that kind of help you kind of fit in. Okay, so if you're doing, like, for example, those of you that are doing your practitioner training or whatever, if you're doing your practitioner training February and March, then okay, your coaching business will start after that. So how much money will I be earning, blah, blah, blah. So anything that's fixed, put it in. Okay. Does that make sense from a creative point of view? So once you've done this and I do recommend doing it on paper. I don't, the computer, if you're a graphic designer, is fine, but if it's probably more going to add your energy and passion into it if it's physical, if it's on paper, if you've got your colored pens, and if you really enjoy it, you can use stickers or whatever you want, really. Okay, but enjoy it. That's the point. I would spend hours doing this because it's worth it, putting your energy and love into it. Your creative energy is very powerful. Any questions on that aspect? Right. Adding outcomes for other people is not advised, because it's up to them whether they achieve it or not. So quite often I get parents saying, right, I want to achieve this because I want my children to be happy, or I want my children to be secure, whatever. Well, totally, if it's a case of helping them be more secure financially or whatever, that's fine. Do that because it serves you to do it. But anything that makes someone else happy, whether someone's happy or not really depends on whether they want to be happy or not. So it's not really up to you to decide that they're going to be happy in your outcome. But I definitely advise seeing people happy in your outcome, that they're happy for you. So if you want to do something, so if I had a particular preference for an outcome that I wasn't sure if Nick wanted or not, I would definitely see him happy about it. Yeah, in my outcome, for sure. Because even if he was like, I don't really want to move house, if I could see him having moved house, feeling really happy about it, then when I put it to him, I'm more likely to do a better sales job, because in my head, I've seen him really happy there. So it's definitely more worthwhile to see people happy in your outcomes. But that cannot be your outcome to make them happy, because that's not up to you, whether someone else is happy. So if you are a couple, it definitely makes sense doing this exercise in conjunction with each other, just because the assumption is that you're probably going to live the same movie in a lot of ways. So you might want to make sure that, you know, where you've booked a holiday, they have booked a holiday, and just make sure that a few of the things that you have decided on, you're heading in the same direction. So if I'm going to put in where we have moved house, you know, if I'm saying, oh, ideally by next summer we'll be in this beautiful new house, definitely makes sense to collaborate and both of us be aiming for that same thing. Both have agreed on what that looks like, what would make us both happy. Then at least you're not kind of pulling in two different directions. That's important. So yes, if your outcomes are affected by each other's, do it as a collaborative effort, for sure. At least so that you're not working in opposition. Does that answer the? You can set as many outcomes per year as you like. All the outcomes in your year are waypoints, and you get to decide what's important. So if it doesn't matter how you get to the end of the year, but where you are at the end of the year matters, then just set one outcome. But if it actually matters, like, actually, I want that marketing person sooner. That's what it feels like I want, right? That's what it feels like to me. I would like somebody now. Maybe the universe says, look, Jess, what's in your highest good is not to have that. Then it will probably show up when it's supposed to show up, you know, that outcome. But I'm going to try setting it soon. I'm going to say, I want it there. And then if it's supposed to be happening to me, and if it's right for me to have it, then it will show up. All right. So let's make sure, first of all, we're going to do the outcome. We're going to do the visualization. We're going to do 4 outcomes, and I'm going to kind of suggest that you do 1 per quarter. So for this visualization, you're going to program your outcomes into your subconscious mind. My recommendation for the visualization is 4. And obviously you can go back and set another 4 and another 4 and another 4 and another 4 as many times as you want to. But initially it's kind of like 1 per quarter, but you can spread them out, you know, all for this month if you want to. It doesn't really matter which ones you set. Just have it outcomes that you know you want, because you'll need to know what it is that you want for the visualization. So has everybody got 4 outcomes, like scenes from their movie of 2021 that they are ready to program in? Anybody got any questions before we do that? Okay, so I'm going to just give you a couple of minutes to write 1, 2, 3, 4 and kind of make a couple of notes about, so for example, by March, by July, by October, by the end of the year, kind of New Year's Eve. And 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. Is that one? 1, yeah. By 4 of them. So 4 of your movie scenes from your movie. And then you can come back and set as many other ones as you want to. So when you're ready, close your eyes, relax. And I want you just to imagine yourself floating down a set of steps, floating down further and further with every breath, getting more and more relaxed. At the bottom of the steps, find yourself in the most beautiful garden that you've ever seen, representing the control room of your mind, the place that you can instruct and communicate with your subconscious mind. Take a moment to drink it in. It could be a small cottage garden or an entire rolling landscape. Whatever feels right for you is fine. Feel the temperature of the air against your skin. Notice the colours, the smells, the sounds of the garden. This is a beautiful place for you to come and make the changes in your subconscious mind that you want to make. You can only make positive changes here. Your subconscious mind knows what's in your highest good and will take care of you. Now, you can do so many things in this garden, but today you're going to program your 2021 outcomes into your subconscious. Now, if you've been here before, then you know that in your garden, time is a river flowing gently downstream into the future. And you can move along the bank of that river, upstream into the past, and downstream towards the future. Along the riverbank, there are many trees that hold information about events in the future or the past that you might wish to observe at any point. Some of these trees might contain fixed points, but most of the trees will represent events that can change depending on the decisions and changes that you make in your life. And if ever that you wish to observe the events from the past or the future, you need only reach out and touch one of the trees. And immediately you'll begin to observe the event as if it were being acted out in front of you in its designated time and place. Now, you're able to interact safely with the people and events in any scene that you watch, or you might just choose to observe and learn something useful that you didn't know before. So if at any point that you want to observe anything in the past or in the future, you can, just by touching the tree. And the moment that you let go of the tree, you'll find yourself back in the garden in the present day. So next, we're going to think about your outcomes. Now, you have the power to create your future and even change your past, but today we're just going to create the outcomes for 2021 at a deep subconscious level. This will enlist the help of your infinite subconscious mind to help you achieve the outcomes in a way that complements everything else that you want. And it's in alignment with your highest good, and will find a way to utilize the ever-changing variables in the universe rather than try to override them. Now, we're going to sow seeds all along the riverbank of 2021, representing your desired outcomes. And these seeds will grow into trees representing the events that you'll be creating. Those trees are going to grow all by themselves, strong and solid. And all you have to do is consider the outcomes that you really, really want. So let's do that now. Bring to mind the outcomes that you want for 2021. You can do this in the order that you want them if you know the dates, or you can just imagine the outcomes themselves and let your subconscious mind interpret when is best to experience them this year. The more you leave open, the easier it will be for your subconscious mind to work around any obstacles posed by the natural variables of the universe. We're going to visualize 4 major scenes, one for each quarter of the year perhaps, but you can do this as many times as you wish later on. So, pick your first major outcome for 2021, an important change in an area of your life that you want to make perhaps. Notice what life feels like and look like when it's here, when you're living this outcome, when you're being, doing, and having what you want in the areas that you want it. Imagine it as if it were a movie scene where you are the hero inside that scene, living this outcome. See what you see when you achieve it, hear what you hear, feel how it feels to have it, and notice the evidence that proves that you have it in your life. Notice what you're saying to yourself when you have this in your life, and feel how wonderful it feels. Experience that movie scene now. And as your subconscious mind receives the request, take a peek down on the ground in front of you, and you'll see the seed for that goal has been called towards you. So let's pick another outcome. Notice what life feels like and look like when the next outcome is here. Another outcome you want to achieve. Notice what it's like to be living this way, being, doing, having what you want in an area that you want it. Feel how amazing it feels. Imagine this movie scene where you're the hero, experiencing it, living this outcome. Noticing what you hear, what you see, what you feel when you have it in your life. And notice the evidence that proves that you're experiencing it just the way you want it. Notice what you say to yourself when you have it, and notice how amazing it feels. Just enjoy it. And as your subconscious mind receives the request, take a peek on the ground in front of you, and you'll see that the seed for that outcome has been called towards you. Time for movie scene number 3. Pick another outcome and notice what life feels like now when it's here, when you're experiencing the outcome just the way you want it. Change anything about it to make it feel right for you. Feel what you feel, see what you see, hear what you hear. Notice what it feels like to have this in your life. How amazing it feels. You're the hero experiencing this scene, living your outcome. And notice the evidence that proves that you have it in your life. Make it perfect just for you. Enjoy having it in your life. And again, as your subconscious mind receives this request, look down on the ground in front of you in the garden, and you'll see the seed for that outcome has been summoned towards you. Now let's pick the next outcome that you want, maybe for the end of the year. The way the end of the year culminates for you, the sum total of all your experiences, reflecting back on them or experiencing what it's like right at the end of the year in your life, being, doing, and having exactly what you want, the way that you want it, living the way you want to be living, being, doing, having everything that you want. Feel how amazing it feels. And experience it as if it were a movie scene, moving through that scene, experiencing everything that tells you that you've achieved it just the way you want it. The hero of your own movie. See what you see, hear what you hear, and really feel the feelings of just how wonderful it is. Noticing all the evidence that proves that you have these things in your life that you want. The emotions, the experiences, the lifestyle, everything that you want. And as your subconscious mind receives the request, you can look down on the ground in front of you, and you'll see the seed for that goal has been called towards you. Now, if you look down on the ground in the garden, you'll see the 4 seeds. Though actually, if you look closer, you might notice that a number of other seeds representing other outcomes that you've summoned towards you have been summoned along with those 4 seeds. So perhaps you have a handful of seeds on the ground in front of you. Now pick them up and feel the incredible potential that you're holding in your hand, these beautiful little seeds ready to transform into something bold, proud, beautiful, and strong, something quite magnificent and magical. Now, as you start to move along the riverbank of time out into your future, just be guided now by your subconscious mind. As you move forwards along the bank, just scatter the 4 seeds or more into the wind and let them fly through the air, landing exactly where they are supposed to happen for you. Let your subconscious mind take control of your highest good, knowing that everything that you want, everything that's in your highest good, it can take control for you. It can allow these things to happen in exactly the way that's right for you. Trust your unconscious mind to deal with it for you. And watch as those seeds nestle into the soft, moist earth and the seeds begin to immediately sprout and the transformation begins. Stand back as the earth begins to hum, and the hum gets stronger and stronger until the earth beneath your feet begins to vibrate. Those little seeds bursting into life, fed by the soil and the sun. The roots growing down into the ground, creating strong, solid foundations. Branches stretching upwards, ever upwards towards the sun. And you can feel deep within you the changes taking place in your thinking and your body as the energy filters its way through your entire neurology, your synapses, rewiring your thinking perfectly for success. This is happening. And as you walk forwards now along the riverbank, notice how your trees are already fully grown. Find the tree representing the end of 2021 and reach out your hand and with your fingertips touch the trunk of the tree and watch as time speeds up and you find yourself experiencing the outcome just as you want it to be. Allow yourself to fully experience the good feelings just as you wanted them as you move through this scene. Notice how easy and effortless and right it feels. How inevitable it feels. It might even feel better than you could have imagined. When you're ready, just let go of the tree and knowing that it's out there, inevitable, strong, a powerful force, magnetizing resources towards you. You can move back along the riverbank to the present day, noticing all the other beautiful outcomes represented as trees along the riverbank all the way back. Notice any other new trees that have begun to grow along the riverbank, representing milestones along the way to achieving your outcomes. Resources that have already been called towards you. People, ideas, money, everything's been sent for now. Everything is on its way. And when you're back in the present moment, just take a moment to enjoy the garden and the power you have to create your future. Feeling stronger now, more certain than ever before that change has begun. And in your body, you can feel a sense of certainty, knowing that you have called your future outcomes into existence now. They are on their way. They are inevitable. And all the resources, people, events, everything you need is being drawn to you now to help manifest it for your highest good, working with all the variables in universal perfection. Now it's time to leave the garden for now. So ensuring you're back in the present moment, just say goodbye to the garden. Floating up the stone steps. And as you float up each step, you're going to come all the way back to the room. As you're ready with each breath, feeling more and more alert and awake, although staying very relaxed. And when you're all the way back to the top of those steps, You can come back to the room, open your eyes, feeling really good about yourself and your life in every single way.